Boards games, boards games. I might be talking about board games, board games, but I'm not gonna shout. I am sitting here trying to say that this is a game that I love to play. Dohdles was brilliant and underrated, I think. Now, I guess that you all could play pink, except in this game. There's not really pink. There's purple and grey and red and orange and blue for you. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. 10 a.m. ish UK time. Time for Busy Beats and Board Game Leather. And today, episode 957, I think, is Dohdles by Klaus Teuber. Is one of my favourite games. And I mentioned it before in my top 10 games. I think it's time I did a video about Dohdles, especially because, sadly, Klaus Teuber has passed away at the age of 70. The official sources tell us that there was a quick illness, and yeah, I mean, so that is basically what's happened. That is like obviously, I mean, recent highlights of my life, and seeing sites, recent highlights, playing games and other delights. I mean, if this is an event, this is not certainly not a highlight, but Klaus Teuber, obviously best known for Catan, which has sold tens of millions of copies and introduced many people to Germanic board games, introduced especially so many people in the USA to be like, hey, these board games can do more and we're doing exciting things. And it was Settlers of Catan, Die Siedler von Catan, now known just as Catan, a name that can be used internationally. It's introduced trading and it kept some die rolling but rather than die rolling that gives you a personal benefit and then you move around and then only you, and it's like everyone's got something going on in their turn, and on your turn there's an element of push your luck, whether you want to keep all the resource cards or not. Maybe you want to make an unfavorable trade just so that you stay below that 8 cards per turn limit that only activates if a 7 is rolled, which of course is the most likely number on 2d6. Now, that wasn't Klaus Teuber's first design by any means. That wasn't even the first time Klaus Teuber won the Spiel des Jahres. Klaus Teuber had won the Spiel des Jahres earlier for Barbarossa, a wonderful game about sculptures where you're trying to make your sculptures understandable, but not too understandable. Barbarossa had some issues, but Klaus Teuber re-examined it and improved it drastically with Dohdles. And I only bought this game because it was for sale at £10 in a shop, because it hadn't sold well enough, because it was being discontinued and they were flocking it off, and that's such a shame. I think that this is honestly one of the all-time greats, and it deserves more respect. Dohdles. Before I get into that, a couple of other recent highlights. Yesterday I had my friend over, and I do want to say that, yes, we played a couple of games of Connect for Spin, which I love. Connect for Spin, it's got a as the thing moves, and it's a perfect information abstract strategy game, but with a coin flip added in and some cool noises. I will do a proper review of that some point. And Vamp on the Bat's Walk, I finally got to play it with my friend McCall. We both enjoyed it. I will be doing a proper review of this soon, but it's like a solid, I'm going to say 7.5-ish from me. Like, it's a solid game. It does so many things in a novel way. It's a trick-taking game, but not as you know it with Nabi. But yeah, seeing my friends walking through the parks, those were my highlights. Now, brilliant thing, what's the little thing which is brilliant? Talking about Dohdles, the one most brilliant thing about Dohdles is the entire concept of it. It kind of reminds me of Telestrations. So you've got this cool potsy, and then you make 2 or 3 sculptures depending on how many people are playing. And on the back of your board, you've got over 100 possibilities. You choose 2 or 3 of them, and then you make your sculptures. But if people guess it after one guess, you don't get any points. If people guess it after a couple of clues, then you get a point. If people guess it after 2 or 3 clues, you get the maximum points, and then it gets harder. It's kind of like that game, Good Question, but like there's not that, in terms of threading the needle, in terms of making it so that it's understandable but not too understandable, then it's a hard thing to get across. But for sure, it does tickle your brain in a brand new way. It kind of also encourages bad sculpting in the same way that Telestrations allows for bad drawing and makes it into a joke, but you have to be trying to be good. This encourages you to make bad sculptures. I mean, what do you think this is? I mean, it could be any number of things. It could be a rocket. It could be the Eiffel Tower. It could be a spanner. It could be a tree. It could be like something rude. But if maybe this could be a dinosaur. I don't know. The point is that the sculpture is just there to guide you towards the thing. And it's that sense of playing directly into other people's minds. What are they going to guess? How quickly are they going to get it? And every time I've played, if I were making a dinosaur the first time, typically people would actually try to make something with 4 legs, and then people would be like, okay, it's some sort of animal, and even that might be too much information. And then we play a second time, and suddenly people go a little bit further and make it a little bit more vague, because it's all about the people. It's a super interactive game. How you sculpt relies on you understanding the people around the table. And the truth is that people are fairly similar. I mean, people are interesting. People are different, don't get me wrong. But it's just surprising how much, if you make that, a lot of people be like, yeah, that's given, if I know the first letter of the word, and if I've asked if it's alive, then yeah, I get that it's a dinosaur. Or maybe someone just guesses that straight away. And so you need to make something intentionally vague. Maybe you just twist it up like that. But then have you made it too weird? Have you made it too unidentifiable? And then it's what Glenn's been talking to me, Glenn Ford. I've been having a conversation. Glenn's going to join me back on episode 1000 about non-discrete games. And this is a wonderful example of that. I mean, the angle at which I could move this, there's infinite ways to do that. There's infinite ways to pull a thing, and it really matters. Every crease matters more than you want, but you don't have to struggle about it. It's not like this comes out of a careful calculation. It's just, okay, I'm going to do this. And there you go. There's my dinosaur. Okay, that's totally a dinosaur, believe me. And it doesn't look like a dinosaur, and that's the point. So let me get to the board. On this board, yeah, so just non-discrete games are a brilliant thing, and as always, and feel free to comment, ask questions from like follow. Each of these spaces is for one thing. And this is the key design change that Klaus Teuber made between Barbarossa and Dohdles. In Barbarossa, the number of questions asked overall throughout the game changes the scoring. So you want your stuff to be guessed in the middle. But then that doesn't quite work because maybe people are just focusing on other stuff. It's natural that sometimes someone asks something about something and then people keep asking questions about it. So here, the design innovation, not that, the design change was that there's an individual tracker for each little sculpture. So you put your sculpture down and with a little token, it's like, okay, if anyone guesses it now, you get no points. Okay, if anyone guesses it after asking a yes, no, maybe question, you still get no points. And then you get to ask about a letter. And then you get to ask another yes, no, maybe question. And then it gets asked about a letter. And it's at this point that the sculptor will get the maximum of 3 points. And then you ask more questions, ask another letter, and then ask whatever you want. And at this point, the point starts going down. So you want to thread that needle. You want to thread that needle of being tricky, but not too tricky. And this is the challenge. This is the psychological, sculptural, understanding other people challenge of Dohdles, which is such a wonderful game. And then the scoring. Like the scoring for the guessers is completely different. Guessers, their overall points are, well, everyone, their overall points is marked on this big ring. And if you're wrong, you move back the number of spaces denoted by the red arrow. If you're correct, you move forward the number of spaces marked by the green arrow. So the further back you are, the more you move forwards. Like back here, you'll be moving 5 and then 3, and then once you're almost winning, you would only move forwards once. So it might be that you just want to, and the better you're doing, the more risk there is. So here you would move back 4, and here you'd only move back 1. So in this early area, you just want to guess. You see something that's too obvious, you ask it straight away. If you guess, okay, you just move back, that's fine. It's only 1. But if you want, so like, even if you're 33% sure, then you want to move, 25, yeah. If you're 25% sure, then your expectation value is basically 0, whereas here, you need to be at least 80% sure to have, more than 80% sure to have a decent go. And so this encourages everyone to have a go of guessing. It encourages everyone to get involved. It encourages those early guesses to get the game started because there's minimal risk involved and a good amount of reward. It encourages people to slow down. It's a wonderful way to offer a catch-up mechanism. Because if you're out of the game, sure, there's points at which you will no longer be able to win, but keeps going forwards. And these two features of Dohdles are brilliant. And then I've not even talked about these independent player boards. So everyone's got their own player board with exactly the same front. You don't know who has which. And on the back of each of them, there's, I think it works out, 112 of these. And yeah, with 6 different player boards, that's like 672. Yeah, that's a lot of things that you might be guessing. And if you run out of things, if you played it that many times that you're able to start remembering the hundreds of things that are in the game, then you can just start inventing your own nouns and stuff. And there's, thousands of them in the English language. So again, it could be anything. But this, I mean, I've played it tens of times. I've enjoyed it so many times. Every time I play it, we play it like 2-3 times in a row. And because everyone's got different boards, like you're not reading through and then committing them all to memory I can't remember much of them, but I do remember scanning them and looking, oh, that's something that I could vaguely sculpt. I'd look for and say, oh, cat, yeah, I'll do that. My eyes just gravitate towards that word. Maybe because it's short, or maybe because I like the word cat, I don't know. But it's amazing production. And again, why hasn't it done better? Like, criminally underrated. And that's before we even get to the best component. The best component in this game is the guessing funnel. So, yeah, check this out. Everyone's got their cubes, and these are your guessing cubes. The only reason for these guessing cubes is that when you want to guess, chuck them in. Oh, it was kind of ski-whiff, but you see, everyone chucks out their cubes, and then if it's on a flat surface, you'll see exactly where people's things are. So it's like, if two people want to guess at the same time, this is the way to solve tie breaks. Everyone chucks in their cubes, and it's like, hey, I want to guess, is it dinosaur? Is it cat? And they'll be like, no. They'll be like, well, now I've guessed cat, I'm going to guess, is it dog? And then they'll say no, and then, or maybe they'll say yes if it actually. But this just adds a random bit of dexterity where the act of throwing it in and getting that out, it's inherently joyful. It adds a bit of levity to the entire process. And can I just talk about the insert? I mean, this is a wonderful insert. I mean, everything has a perfect place. So you've got the guessing funnel. You can't quite see that. To get the space for the guessing funnel, even when it's constructed, the board fits perfectly here. Yes, it's plastic, which is not great, but like, this is a really lovely produced game, and it didn't do well. But Teuber wasn't one of these people to rest on their laurels, even after Catan became an international phenomenon. They continued making games like this, like Tumult Royale, where you've got a strategic game combined with moments of mad dexterity and real-time grabbing. You've got Smugglers, which is kind of a guessing, bluffing game combined with, are you able to shove little balls through holes? You've got to make the biggest ball that can fit through a hole. And Dohdles, whilst it might be a reimagining, a revision of Barbarossa, the earlier game, I mean, why did it not capture the zeitgeist? Why did it not capture people's imagination? Is it that it was ahead of the time? I explained the whole, you need to make a sculpture that can be understood, but not too quickly. And the whole, what is that? It doesn't really get into that. Make a sculpture that people can guess, but if it's too obvious, you won't score. Or, like, I don't know, it needs some sort of tagline to get that across. I mean, this just looks like any other sculpture game. And it's not. I mean, Quazzle, there's like so many. But the thing that elevates it is the central concept. And it's not just a great concept. Dohdles, I think, is nigh on perfect in its execution. Who would enjoy it? I think that anyone who's not turned off by the idea, frankly, if you look, there's always going to be people who hate any game. If the only games that you like are abstract strategy games or, multi-hour epic games that tell a story with elves or whatever, this might not be for you. But if you're at all intrigued by the idea of making little sculptures and having people guess them, but then it's inherently balanced for people who aren't able to sculpt because it's more about the psychology. You want people to guess after they've asked a bunch of questions and learned some of the letters in the word. So you deliberately want to make it vague. And the rules even are aware of this. People are going to hey, if you have a flamingo, this is way too obvious. This is maybe a bit too difficult, and this looks just right. If you are a spider, this is too obvious, this might be too difficult, and this is just right. And I'm not sure about the Eiffel Tower. I think that might still be too obvious, but it depends on your playgroup, and it's trying to remind people this is not a game about sculpting. I mean, yes, sculpting is the first thing that sets things in motion, but then it's a game about learning what your friends think. It's truly chaotic because our brains are chaotic. It's a game that taps into the nature of human perception and what we see when things are put in front of us. It's a game that challenges us to be mindful of how others see us or see our creations. And it's a game that elicits laughter and pleasure. Yeah, I feel like this is where I should say some negative things about the game. I mean, I remember one time thinking that I might quibble about the exact. I felt like maybe one of the points was slightly off. Um, Look, if I played it, if I sat down for a week and maybe it's be like, oh, maybe there's an argument that one of these arrows is slightly misplaced, or it's 99% of the game that it could be, because nothing's perfect. I mean, it's possible that it's entirely possible that maybe these scores here should be one higher, or it's entirely possible that maybe winning at this point should be marginally better. Maybe there should be slightly more movement. But this is 99%. This is this is me grasping at straws. For me, this is a game I am proud to have in my collection. I think it's a game that you all should play. I guess, you know what? A problem with the game is it's 3 to 6 players. You can't play it with 2 players. That's my biggest problem with it. I don't like the fact that I can't play it with 2 players. I find that with 6 players, it's a bit more chaotic, and maybe that's not your bag. I'm slightly sad that I can't play it with 7 players. You can play it with 7 players with 2 people joining one team if you've got 7 and you really want to play the game, and it still works with that. I have played it with 7 in that manner, but that's as far as I can get. For what it is, this is one of the all-time greats. And Doodles, if you ever get an opportunity, go and play it, because Klaus Teuber, Catan's a great game, don't get me wrong, but for me, this, not only Klaus Teuber's best game in my opinion, But this is one of my favourite games. Full stop. Dohdles. Thank you for watching. And at this point, I've got question of the day. Question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. So my question of the day to you is, I was tempted to make a sculpture, and can I also just say this sculpting putty is just super amazing. It's just such a joy to play with. As soon as you warm it up in your hands, it's lovely to fold. I just love it. So my question to you is actually going to be, do you have any games that involve sculpting? Apart from this one, I think this one might be the only one I actually own. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I think this is the only sculpting game that I own. I've played, I guess, not that many others, like maybe 4 or 5 others, but this is by far my favorite because it's not just about, hey, who's the best sculptor, which seems like a skill that you bring from outside the game. Conversely, how can I make a sculpture that people can guess after a few clues, but not too quickly? Because it's a more game-specific skill, it levels the playing field. Everyone's able to play at once. So yeah, my question is, do you have any games that involve sculpting? This is my only one, because frankly, if a game is just out there to reward good artistry, good drawing ability, good sculpting, that feels like the kind of game that the same people are going to win over and over. But Dohdles, it's got enough skills that you don't practice from outside. It's more about the connections you make with the other people. It's not just, hey, I made a brilliant sculpture. You can totally tell what this is, right? And then everyone's like, oh yeah, that's absolutely a Klein bottle or a bottle from Zelda or something specific. No, this isn't about me challenging myself. This is about me thinking about what you think and having that interaction. So yeah, over to you. What are you up to? You can share a button if you want to. What are you up to today? Is there something that you want to do, something that you need to do? Please share. I promise that I care. I'm still not very well, is the truth. I'm going to take my pills, get showered, and then I'm going to focus on getting out for the bulk of the day. There are other things that I kind of have to do, but they could also wait until tomorrow. I'll see how the day goes. But yeah, lots of love. I hope that, yeah, there's a wee game jam with the aperiodic Einstein shape, the single aperiodic repeating tile. But at this point, recap and wrap up before we finish up. Dohdles is brilliant. If you ever get a chance to play it, please play it. Klaus Teuber, great person, obviously best known for Catan, but to me, Catan obviously did more to change the landscape of gaming. Catan did more to introduce people to Euro games, but Dohdles, for me, this is the game that if someone said, hey, what's the one game designed by this author that I should play, I would say Dohdles. It's brilliant. Genuinely. Like, I've been, yeah, nigh on perfect. Share, spread the word, please. Thank you everyone for watching. And if you do comment or ask questions, even after the fact, I always reply to everything that I can. I am stuffbybez.com, stuffbybez.bigcartol, twitter.com/stuffbybez, instagram.com/stuffbybez. I stream every day at 10 a.m.-ish on twitch.tv/stuffbybez and youtube.com/stuffbybez, and also Facebook and Twitter, but yeah, YouTube's probably best for watching them, and stuffbybez.com/discord will lead you to that. Tomorrow, it's not up there, but I do have the Cozy Gamer, and we'll be talking about building an audience and Instagram and stuff, so that's looking forward to that. And the only thing left to say at this point is lots of love, and as always, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye bye, bye bye, and now it's time to go. Bye bye, bye bye. This is a good song. Bye bye, bye bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye bye, bye bye. This is the end of the show. Bye bye, bye bye. And now it's time to go. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye.